adios. Yeah, I gotta get it. Yeah, by any means. Yeah, I gotta get it, the mindset. I gotta get it, the mindset. Hey, back with a vengeance, back on the grinds, back to the business. Hey, God is my witness, they watching my moves like shows they binging. Hey, best keep distance, all of my haters send best of wishes. I get to the bag with the quickness, no I don't need no assistance, no. Yeah, no playing it safe, I said let's get it, you say not today. What can I say, if you ain't gon' go for it, get out the way. Yeah, got no time to waste, can't be with me if you not at my pace. You not at my level, you not in my race. One foot on the gas, I'm pushing the brakes. You dancing with the devil, there's no recital. I'm killing competition, ain't no revival. I shoot it to kill it, I'm aiming for vitals. I'm showing no mercy when facing my rivals. Snakes in the grass, they getting exposed. I know they be lurking, I'm watching them close. Acting like friends, but really they foes. Saw they be scheming and said adios. Yeah, I gotta get it. By any means. I gotta get it, the mindset. I gotta get it, the mindset. I gotta get it, the mindset.
Green flag racing in round 3 of the ISOWC. And we're going to have another caution, surely. Everyone is down this time around, Lewis. We are back on the same strategy. 5 cars with a chance of victory.
Here we go, Valtteri Landon's going to look to the inside. We're going to go 3 wide.
Chins up into the wall, or it's a drag race to the line, or is it The iRacing IndyCar Open Series visits the cornfields of Iowa for round 4 of a 12-round season. The championship has been blown wide open by Adam Blocker's continued struggles so far this season. But as we head to the first short track of the season, who will be crowned king of the Iowa Speedway? Hello and welcome back to RaceSpotTV and continued coverage on a Monday night of this wonderful Open Championship. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be joined by my teammate Wilson Nadeau in the commentary booth. TV cameras designed by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com with some additional car cameras provided to us by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxson. You can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to racespot.tv/Indy to follow along with your favorite team and drivers throughout today's action. Wilson, it's been an exciting start to the championship, but what better way to continue things here tonight as we head to the first short track of the season in what is a very fascinating schedule.
Hello Arjuna, good evening to you and everybody else watching tonight's broadcast. And yeah, it's been such an amazing season so far with different tracks and different race conditions. And of course, different drivers winning those races, and the championship itself is quite messy right now, I would say, and a lot of chances for people changing their spots throughout the championship. And yeah, to be honest with you, I was not between my favorite oval tracks because, to be honest, I'm not a very skilled driver in short ovals. However, if in one hand I don't like to race in this kind of track, it's really a pleasure to watch those races and see the strategy and the few strategies playing around. Sometimes a driver who is 1 or 2 laps back can work on strategy and get his laps back. So yeah, Arjuna, I'm really looking forward for tonight's race. And maybe if we have a green flag run, maybe some guys doing the fuel save game can be paid off by the end of the race.
150 laps, so plenty of time for fuel strategy to play itself out. If we get those green flag runs, very interesting championship. I'm looking forward to the next 3 rounds. Next time we'll head to Germany and the Hockenheim ring. Here are the season standings. Adam Crane, you can see, almost now 100 points clear of Adam Blocker. And crucially, Blocker will be missing, traveling back from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, where he was, of course, trackside with his duties with the NTT IndyCar Series. Isaac Morris has been a very strong starter this campaign. Great to see Phil Krause back on a Monday night after returning to Mid-Ohio last time after a small vacation. Robin Glennox, Alexander Van der Sant 5th and 6th with AJ Musselman and Hugo Olsen tied on points. Olsen will not be racing here today. Chris Wilhite, Austin Espetis, two strong drivers at the edge of the top 10, but we are very early on in this season, and at the end of the day, with Adam Blocker missing one more round, Wilson, it really is up to Adam Crane to control his destiny.
Yeah, Crane has definitely a good opportunity for getting good points tonight, and probably he knows that Adam's he already knew in advance that Adam was not going to be here with us tonight. And yeah, I think for Adam Crane is just try to get the most points out of it, even if that costs him like a victory, but at least he can get 2nd or 3rd place. I think he will be pretty happy with those points, thinking in the championship. And but we can't forget that we have Brandon Lichtenberg, Christian Steele on the track, and also my countrymate Marco Brazil, who is also a very strong driver in this track, Iowa. I know this is one of his favorite drivers, and I'm really looking forward to see what Marco can do here tonight.
Well, qualifying has come to an end. Let's turn up the most famous song in all of esports. Let's go trackside here in Iowa to take a look at our starting grid in round 4 of this championship. And so on the pole position, it's the revelation Alexis Newsom, multi-time winner in the Lionheart Speedway Series, a 16.683. She's on pole. 2,000ths of a second between her and Adam Crane for the VRS Satellite Racing Team. The championship leader starts on the outside of the front row. The hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg is 4,000ths of a second behind, with Alexander Van der Sant rounding out row 2, 5,000ths behind. Look at these margins. 100 separating Newsom and Marco Brazil, who's inside of Christian Steele, who will be hoping to take that Dallara IR18 into Steely rocket machine mode. Chris Wilhite, Connor Harrington, they're 7th and 8th positions, with Isaac Morris and John Silver on the edge of the top 10. Philip Krause, lots of work for him to do in the Team Talent #1 car. He'll be alongside the muscle man, AJ Musselman, starting on the outside of row number 6. Tim Tomes, Andrew Wood 13th and 14th, with Andrew Marquez, Matt Holliber 15th and 16th. Laura Gerhardt, Aaron Roofs, you can see the delta in times now, almost half a second separating the top 18 drivers. Just 2 more in our field of 20. Marcel Kovacs and Robin Glennox will round out our 20-car grid. Small field, but of course, Wilson, that does sometimes mean the long green flag runs that we were talking about might become a reality.
Yeah, Arjuna, a smaller field than usual, so that probably can bring us a good race with long runs, long green flag runs, because we have a lot of different drivers with different styles and different teams, especially. But nevertheless, they have a lot of good experience and probably will be able to put us a good show for tonight's race.
And a question for you, Wilson. You're much more of an expert when it comes to setting up this Dallara IR team than I am. What do you need at a short track like this? Single plane downforce, it's sometimes very difficult to get the amount of grip that you need with 16-second lap times.
Yeah, Arjuna, and especially in such a cooler track conditions we have tonight. So you have to find a commitment between the balance of, but mostly you get mechanical grip from the chassis, because you know it's not one of the fastest track, but either way you have to find the grip in aero. But most important to get the chassis working the way you want. Otherwise you can burn your tires very quickly and have a very bad late lap times late on the run.
So 150 laps. I do think we get at least an additional pacing lap given just how short this one is. Wilson, I want a prediction from you. Your countrymate Marco Brazil, you said this is his favorite track. He's starting in 5th position. He'll have a lot of work to do with dirty air, of course, being so important. How do you think he's going to be able to work through the field? What's going to be crucial to get him to the front?
Yeah, we know that historically Marco has a very good car in short stints here. So if he can manage to find himself closer to the P1 by the end of the race, maybe he can gain a few spots. And yeah, I think my pick for tonight will be Marco. Don't want to look like a little bit biased because he's my countrymate, but yeah, I know he's strong here. He enjoying racing on this track very much, and really looking forward to see what he can do tonight.
Here we go, 150 laps at the fastest short track on the planet. It's Adam Crane on the outside of the front row. His championship hopes are in his control, with Adam Blocker traveling back home after this week's festivities. July 4th weekend, we went racing in the NTT IndyCar Series from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. It's a very early jump from Newsom. Get the green flag out there. It's Brendan Lichtenberg looking to the inside of Adam Crane already. Look at them 2 by 2 further back in your pack. Newsom already 0.6 of a second clear as we come down into turn number 3. On the outside, Christian Steele has to defend from Alexander Van der Sant. Steele's already up 2 positions and now works on his teammate here, Wilson.
Yeah, that's right. And those 2 i5G cars, we definitely must keep an eye on them. We know how strong their car on short ovals are, so an eye on Steele and Lichtenberg. They probably will try different strategies for tonight's race as well.
Newsom, 1.1 seconds clear. She really jumped as early as she can and now looks to do what she was trying to do a week ago from, I believe it was a Kentucky Speedway in the Lionheart Speedway Series. Run away at the front of this field. We're on board with Alexander Van der Sant, who is embroiled in the championship battle in the top 10. Look rearwards from Adam Crane as cars fending for some dirty air. Aerial look we'll get right now. And Wilson, it's interesting to see that all of these cars really using that low line at this point in time.
Yeah, and it's not the easiest line to do early on the race, so probably there's something related to fuel save strategy, Arjuna, because the lower the line, less fuel you burn throughout the lap. So yeah, let's keep an eye on the fuel strategy as well.
I saw Lichtenberg trying to get on past Adam Crane. All this is doing is really enabling Newsom to run away. Now 1.5 seconds clear. It's an exceptionally clean start to this race. Already ticking past lap number 5. 16-second lap times. And really, I mean, when you're in this type of a race, Wilson, it's about getting yourself to the end and getting yourself there in one piece, because the laps tick away fast. The action is really thick and frantic, and already you can see Van der Sant getting past Steele.
Yeah, here comes Steele trying to do his move, and also Lichtenberg and Alexander Van der Sant trying to defend his position. But yeah, you're right, the laps here come very fast, and when you realize yourself you're in the lap 50 or so, so yeah, you must keep hitting your marks and trying to do your best all the time, because it's a very challenging track despite the short lap time we have here.
On board with the Hyperstar as he's trying to work Adam Crane. Of course, not much downforce given what we used to run sometimes on the short tracks here on the iRacing service. Lichtenberg down a gear trying to get the move done, but outside line king for Crane at this point in time. 1.6 seconds clear is your race leader, and I must say, Wilson, that early jump has really enabled Newsom to control the early portion of this race.
Yeah, that was very important for her to have that good jump in the first couple laps and had a good start. So probably he will have a clean air for a lot of laps until she finds the traffic ahead of her. So it's worse for Crane and Lichtenberg, but I think that Brandon is trying to use the lower line whenever possible. And, let's see for how many laps he can do that, and if he can push in hard to overtake Crane.
Back down to the inside as we cross the start-finish line. You see Tim Tomes drops to the bottom as Lichtenberg slides up the track. Oh, there's more carnage. Yellow flag flies for the first time today. And I believe that was AJ Musselman in the 4 car that is stricken. Big damage to his Dallara IR18. And what has happened to Alexis Newsom? More damage, and my oh my, the pole sitter Wilson mixed up in all sorts of drama.
Yeah, we had an issue in the tri-oval with AJ, between AJ and I think AJ and the other car was Tim Tomes. Yeah, this one.
Oh,
yeah, that was quite unfortunate for him.
That kind of reminds me of Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen this past weekend, so my guess is that the muscle man was trying to nurse that car around. Let's pick up Alexis Newsom at this point in time. Jump on board with the Three Crowns Racing with Indy Alliance driver. She has nowhere to go, and well, oh, that's not what you want to see early on in this race, Wilson.
Yeah, it definitely was not what we was hoping to see here. But yeah, as we mentioned, that she had nowhere to go. AJ was just trying to find his way back out of turn 2, and then she didn't have enough time to avoid the contact. And unfortunately for her, was doing a great race with a great qualifying lap and a great start. So yeah, feel sorry for her.
Let's see if we can pick up what happened from Matt Holloway's point of view. The muscle man just comes up into the path of Tomes, and Holloway down to the apron, holds on to that car very nicely. He'll be delighted to have worked his way through the carnage. Back to the live coverage we will go, and pit stops are underway. Alexander Van der Sant, only one of the top 5 drivers to come down onto the lane. He's followed in by Isaac Morris, Andrew Wood, John Silver, Matt Holloway, Marquez, Gerhardt, Kovacs, and Roos. Do wonder now if Newsom, Musselman, and Tomes will roll themselves back out onto track. I think, in fact, Newsom has already left the session, Wilson, so she's not going to be too thrilled with that one. She'll have to regroup and try another race later this week.
Yeah, and we know how frustrating that can be, Arjuna, because pretty sure that she put a lot of effort in the past days, to join the race tonight and to do a great presentation. Did a great job doing the pole position in the qualifying session. Yeah, and how those things can be frustrating from a driver's standpoint. And all we can do right now, we wish her best luck in the next week.
And well, for the muscle man, I mean, not necessarily saying that was his intention, Wilson, but at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to hold onto your car and control it. And after the damage that he had got, maybe the best thing would have been to do what Tim Tomes did. Reset back to pit road and make sure he's not a factor for the race lead.
Yeah, it's always a tough question, Arjuna, because when we are in the car, we always try to do our best to bring the car to the pits, because with the new damage model, sometimes you can spend 1 or 2 minutes in the pit stall fixing your damage in the car, and sometimes, unlike the old damage model where we were not able to fix the suspension damage in most of the time, in this new damage model, sometimes we can do that. Yeah, so I think probably what Jay was thinking of course, he was not planning on doing anything bad, he was just trying to bring his car back to the pit stall, and unfortunately didn't end up very well for Alexis.
And well, if you I don't like to bring up the bad memories, but if you do want to see what some more egregious driving standards look like, you just have to go back to sometime last season where Adam Crane got taken out. Well, not Adam Crane, I should say. Newsom, in fact, got collected by some lap traffic, and the same lap traffic decided to get into contact with Adam Crane. All sorts of drama on the oval the last time that I can recall. It's been pretty clean in general here in the iRacing IndyCar Open Series. Lap 15 about to tick away. The pace car will be down onto the safety of the pit road. 20 cars now whittled down to 17, still out there and running. It was a dominant lead for Alexis Newsom. What will happen as we wait for Brendan Lichtenberg to take us to the green flag action? Lights are actually still on the pace car, so at least 1 lap here before we get back to green. Wilson, in terms of pit strategy, 150 laps. What's the fuel window for this type of a race?
It's usually between 65 and 70 laps, so it depends on your fuel map and how much trimmed is your car. And I think that one stop was definitely doable, even if we had a green flag race. But with the yellow flag, maybe they can be more aggressive right now. So definitely, I think that one stopper is still doable. But yeah, I think it will be easier for them right now, which brings more excitement to the race, as they won't have to save that much fuel, and maybe we can see more aggression on the track.
Well, we want aggression, but we want controlled aggression. This is such a fast racetrack. Speeds really are frightening at times. And now we are ready to rumble once more. Lichtenberg, Crane, Steele, Brazil, and Harrington, the top 5. Pace car down. Once more an early jump from Lichtenberg. Does that open the door for his teammate Christian Steele? Here we come down into turn number 1. Steele is not close enough, but looks to the outside line. Can he try and get the move done into turn number 3?
Yeah, nice exit corner on the Steele, but was not able to make the move yet, but I think this time he got him.
Outside line, OP, just clip that and send it over to Justin Hess, just as a reminder of what you can do. Also back in the pack, Marco Brazil, a bit caught napping on the restart, now has to defend from Connor Harrington, who is back here on a Monday night, already 3 positions gained for the private label Team Hype driver. The top 8 did not come down onto pit road. It has meant that Philip Kraus is now having to look in his rear view mirrors, not just for Robin Glenix around his outside, but for Alexander Van der Sant, who will have fresher tires. He gets checked up by Kraus.
Yeah, let's see what Kraus can do tonight, Arjuna. We've seen him doing very, very good presentation throughout the series, and he said earlier before that he was going to try to do his best to fight for the title. So always a very strong contender here, Kraus.
Lots of action here as now Harrington defends from Chris Wilhite down his inside, and Glenix 13 positions gained. He looks to the inside of the Ohio native. He's going to get on past if he can slide up the track. Wilhite's having none of that. Van der Sant, by the way, is already past Phil Kraus, who is being bundled down the order. Van der Sant around the outside, full of confidence. He's now up into 7th. It was a fuel-saving masterclass from Van der Sant to win in Kentucky just 7 days ago. His first career victory, and looks full of confidence as he works his way toward the top 5.
Yeah, and Van der Sant is definitely on the full sending mode, Arjuna. No fuel save right here, according to what we can see, and that's very nice to see those moves in the outside line working, sometimes the inside line working as well. Very nice to see drivers working on different lines and different strategies during the race.
Wilhite tried to get on past Harrington, but now has really just opened the door to let Van der Sant rip around the outside. He's into 6th and now looking to get a couple more positions. The gaps have started to open up. Really, it seems like clean air is very important. Lichtenberg is 1.5 seconds clear of his teammate, and further gaps between Brazil and Crane in 3rd.
Yeah, clean air is always good, Arjuna, especially if you have a teammate ahead of you, so you can work together to work the different line and get the most of the clean air you can, even when you are behind your teammate. So that's probably what Steele and Lichtenberg will try to do here tonight. Let's see.
And well, the tires were only, about 10 laps old, given when the caution came out. How important are tires going to be with that little wear on them? Van der Sant's looking confident, but I just wonder how much of it is that aggression and confidence versus the fresh rubber that he's got, Wilson.
You know, Arjuna, it's kind of a blend of both, because if you start too aggressively early on the run, you can burn your tires right away, even with those good track conditions. So you must try to keep doing consistent lap times, but not burn your tires. Otherwise, you can have a really bad lap times in the late of the stint. So it's probably something that will be some extra challenge for drivers here tonight.
You can see Kraus is now out of the top 10, the last of the runners who have not come down onto the pit road. Morris and Wood in front of him did come down. He's now getting worked over by Matt Holliber. You can see Laura Gerhardt sends the 20 car down to the inside line, trying to find some purchase of her own. Meanwhile, out front, I see Andrew Wood and Isaac Morris squabbling over that position. Morris is now teamed up with Andrew Marquez and Tim Tomes for the SCO WRS team, if I've managed to remember that correctly. New liveries on display, the white, red, and blue, only fitting maybe given the past weekend, of course, July 4th, America's Independence Day. Gap out front, 2 whole seconds. I mean, at this point in time, Wilson, if you get out front, you are really looking comfortable and controlling the race is the Hyperstar.
Yeah, the Hyperstar is doing a very great job, and followed by his teammate Christian Steele. And but I think Prain is still on the fight. Also is Marco. We will never know how much fuel they are burning right now, but the Hyperstar feels pretty comfortable at this moment of the race.
Andrew Wood gets on past his teammate Connor Harrington, obviously driving for the private label Team Hype, but working with Team Talent. Kraus looks to the inside, but now does that open the door more for Holliber? Morris has scampered through. Kraus will work the inside line, slide up the track, and Harrington, after being running in the top 5 just a moment ago, has been bundled down to 11th position. Lots of work for him to do, but still a long way to go. On the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the stint length for the various drivers. There's only about a 13-lap difference on the rubber and on the fuel. It might be especially important when it comes to the pit stop window, because with the one caution that we've had so far, Wilson, it might be a one-stop race, but for the drivers who did not pit, they'll be doing a bit of fuel saving.
Yeah, of course, Arjuna, indeed. They will have to, for those drivers who didn't pit yet, they definitely need to keep doing some fuel save. And for those drivers who already pit, like Vandersen, as we can see, Andrew Wood as well, Morris, they are probably pushing hard right now, because probably fuel save won't be as much as required for them as for the other drivers. So yeah, let's see if we can have a green flag run here, and not to mention how fun it is to see the pit stop under green. So to see the drivers working their way to the pit and their way out of the pit.
And I mean, pit entry, pit exit, not just the only place that you have to really be perfect with, in effect, a one-stop race. Getting in and getting out of your box is oh so important. We've seen on occasion, not just here on the sim, but in the real world as well, drivers making those mistakes, sliding deep, or maybe just losing some time by lining up the rear end of their car as they drop off the jacks and release themselves back out onto track. Want to make sure you can really make up as much time as possible. Gaps are really opening up in the top 3, and you have to look further back for the side-by-side. Gerhardt trying to get on past Harrington, who's now looking and only running in the top 15. Andrew Marquez will be the next to try and challenge him as Gerhardt down the inside. We jump on board with Andrew Marquez. Wonderful view here. And Wilson, this is such a narrow track, but so many different lines can still be run.
Yeah, we definitely can run 2 wide, 3 wide, but yeah, the driver must have a good feeling of the car ahead of him, and also side-by-side when they are side-by-side. Otherwise, you can't. We already saw early in the race a small contact in the tri-oval, so it's not the easiest thing to do. But you know, if the driver is well prepared and well trained, he can feel the car side-by-side him and do a very good show for us.
And Wilson, you said you don't like to drive at this track, but it has been one that in the past, especially I'm thinking about, you know, at the first race where it was almost a photo finish between Dario Franchitti and who other than Marco Andretti. It really does produce some fun racing. When you throw some low downforce on these cars, it leaves so much in control of the drivers. That's what Alexander Van der Sande is trying to prove to us right now.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to, and he was able to complete the pass over Marco. And you know, Arjuna, it won't be fair to say that I don't like to race here, because I already did very few laps in the past. But maybe in the future, if I manage to drive here without getting dizzy, I can try my chance to do a race in the future. But yeah, it's a very funny track when you're on the track, trying those different lines. Is a very good feeling when you're side by side, and all that adrenaline involved. But yeah, it's not the easiest track for a driver to successful here.
First short track of the season, of course, we went to Michigan, in effect a super speedway for round 2 of this championship, as see Chris Wilhite, the Ohio native, trying to get on past Brazil from Brazil. Always makes me chuckle when I get to say stuff like that. Next time we go to an oval, it will be on the other side of a trip to Germany and the Hockenheim ring. We will head to, well, Charlotte, and that is going to be fascinating. A 1.5-mile track that I don't really know the last time that the iRacing IndyCars visited, Wilson. What are you expecting from a race like that? It will be very different, not just to what we've seen today, but what we saw a couple of weeks ago from Michigan.
Yeah, and I hope, Arjuna, that in the Charlotte we can see even more action. Maybe we can have a race like pretty much like Texas, which due to the banking angles of the corners allow you to keep on the draft and trying some moves. We know that it's not easy to get around in the outside, even in the outside line. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see, even on Hockenheim, that track is also such a beautiful track, but also Charlotte as well, which is a great track in service.
I have to ask you now, Wilson, you mentioned, of course, the Lone Star State and the Texas Motor Speedway. Old Texas or New Texas, which one do you prefer?
Yes, that's a tricky question, but I think the old one, Arjuna. Yeah, the old one was quite challenging because it was way more bumpy. It was more challenging to drive.
Marco Brazil now passed not just by Will Height, but Andrew Wood. Wood is on a charge, 9 positions gained on the day, and really making full use of the fresh rubber that he's got. 50 laps through this race, we are entering the first of our green flag pit windows, probably still about 15 laps or so from getting to that point. That's Tim Tomes, by the way, I think down on the inside potentially. Or is that Aaron Roofs? And indeed it is Aaron Roofs. 3 cars are now down a lap. Marcel Kovacs, John Silva, and Aaron Roofs. So lap traffic is going to be a consideration for these drivers as Robin Glennox and Isaac Morris are scrapping it out for 8th position. Of course, Glennox has does not have fresh rubber. Phil Krause, a bit of a wiggle as Matt Hollibaugh around the outside.
Yeah, Matt Hollibaugh is a very experienced driver. He's always waiting for a chance. When if these drivers ahead of him do very most mistakes, Matt Hollibaugh will just get their spots when they didn't realize out of the blue.
Phil Krause once more gets loose on the corner exit. He is really having to ride that car to its maximum, and Glennox is up into the wall. He seems to have gotten away with that one, but he drops to 10th position. I wonder if there's damage to the front right there.
Yeah, I think probably a small damage you have, Arjuna, because he hit pretty hard on that wall. Let's see if he can keep on the track, or he's bringing the car to his pit stop.
You could see that immediately he was having some steering damage, and I tell you what, since things are somewhat calming down at this point in time, let's see if we can go and queue up a RaceSpotTV replay. So the first green flag stop, and well, for Glennox, don't think that's what he wanted. We've caught it after the initial contact, and indeed, we still managed to go a little bit too far. Too far back. Here you can see just outside line, he's almost up in the 6th groove all the time, sliding up into the wall, and immediately you see their steering damage. Morris gets on through, Hollibaugh gets on through, and Glennox is forced to bring that car back down onto the pit road. In terms, by the way, of the race lead, well, there's no sort of battle whatsoever. It is 3.3 seconds between Lichtenberg and Steele, the 2 teammates. Adam Crane a further 2.2 behind. Van der Sat has been trying to close in the gap, but the last time around he was actually a couple of hundredths, I should say, slower than the cars in front. He's managed to correct that this time around, but really showing that even if he's got the fresher rubber, Wilson, there is still a lot of driver control that you have. In-car tools are so important at a track like this.
Yeah, the in-car tools are all important in such a track, and also keeping your tires without overheating the tires, because if you overheat, you'll probably lose 1 or 2 laps until you manage to bring your tires back to their normal temperature. So that's very important to keep hitting your marks, doing consistent lap times, and thinking by the end of the run. So yeah, pretty important to see the drivers working their way to the grid tonight, Arjuna.
Isaac Morris past Brazil. Hollibaugh wants to get past as well. He'll look to the outside, set up the run down into turn 3. Brazil washes up the track. Momentum on the side of Hollibaugh, who looks to the inside, and I think that move is going to be completed fairly easily. In fact, it might be Brazil losing another position as here comes Phil Krause. Phil Krause is feeling the pressure from Morris's teammate, Andrew Marquez. We really are in a fascinating point of this race where, Brazil's up into the wall, Wilson.
Yeah, I think he just clipped the wall a little bit, and not sure if he had some major damage. This new damage model is way more forgiving than we used to have in the past. Let's just double check here. Yeah, let's see. I think Marco can survive with that. I don't think he will have some hard damage, but maybe we can see 1 or 2 tenths in terms of drop-off in his lap time. Let's keep an eye on Marco, because I know he has always have a good car, fast car in the short run. So maybe if we have a short run by the end of the race, he can have a chance. But things are not going the way Marco probably would like to do by this point of the race. And here comes Marco to his pit box.
It's a bit early to try and extend this to the end of the race, and of course the danger at a short track is when you come down onto pit road for green flag stops, you will go a lap down. It's not just him who's gone a lap down. I've noticed that Harrington has fallen 1 lap behind. Here comes Steele to put another lap on him. That's going to be a difficult thing to bounce back from, but it is possible. We've seen at Richmond a couple of I say a couple of months ago, it was last year in the iRacing IndyCar series where Tim Doyle, at one point 2 laps down after coming down and getting caught out by a caution, had to find his way back onto the lead lap and then to the front to take the checkered flag. Phil Kraus, by the way, wiggles himself onto the pit road. Clearly, he's decided that the pain that he's feeling out there right now will be better served, Wilson, by getting fresh rubber onto his car.
Yeah, it's always a difficult call to do, Arjuna, but probably what Kraus is thinking right now is just to bring the car healthily to his pit stall and do his pit right now, thinking the long term of the race. So let's see how that will work for him.
Up on the jacks, 4 seconds and counting, as I see Marco Brazil was 8.6 seconds. Pit box time for Phil Kraus was about 8.4, so about the same amount of time as Marco Brazil. So does indicate that Brazil got away with the slight wall tap that he did have. In terms of gaps, I'm seeing just one really intense battle. That's between Wood and Chris Wilhite. This is for 5th and 6th positions out on track. They are 2.7 seconds behind Alexander Van der Sant, who is trying to close the gap to Adam Crane. It was a couple of tenths last time to the number 14 car as he pulls in the podium positions. But look at this, fresh rubber doesn't matter for Andrew Wood because Wilhite is always a strong competitor on the ovals. He's managed to find the right balance of his car.
Yeah, and the fresher rubber we're seeing right here, that's not making that huge difference because the tire drop-off is huge at this point of the race. So even if you have like 13 or 12 laps of better rubber on your tires this late on the race, on the run, sometimes can be very minimal depending on the driver's style and how good he was able to manage his tire throughout the run.
Oh, I see Christian Steele down onto pit road just before the halfway mark. That indicates to me he's not going to be able to get to the end without another trip unless we get the caution back out here, Wilson.
Yeah, probably will be hard for him because 80 laps is, I would say it's quite impossible to do. And at least we are seeing both of them bringing their car to the pit box and see how kind of different strategy they can do right now to try to open a gap in the lead of the race.
Would speculate as well, maybe just Adam Crane, who is still out there and circulating, bumped that car down into one of the more conservative fuel maps and has been saving fuel, and that explains some of the time loss that he had because he's turned the wick up very recently as Alexander Van der Sant has closed. Steele is already off of pit road, 8.9 seconds stationary. That was a much longer stop for Lichtenberg, almost 10 seconds in the box.
And here comes Crane, so didn't manage to save much more than the i5G guys. So pretty interesting race here, Juna. I think they will have to full send it or save big time. So yeah, let's see. Maybe if you can have some different strategy playing a prank on us by the end of the race.
So now we enter that window where the cars that came down onto the pit road during that caution still have about 10 to go. But we'd expect to see them down onto the lane. Left side of the screen, you can see the stint length now for the various drivers. And, well, for Wilhite, he's still out there and circulating, still in a close battle with Andrew Wood. But everyone else from 5th on back is 1 lap down. That is the danger of pitting here at a short oval. If we were to get an untimely caution as Wilhite's the next car down onto pit road, it really might shake things up here from Iowa Speedway.
Yeah, that's the risk when you pit earlier in such kind of a short ovals, Arjuna. You always get 1 or 2 laps behind, so you just keeping praying to don't have a caution on track. So otherwise, you can have your race really in a bad situation. So let's see if we can have another green flag run here, so we can see the strategies of these guys working in the race.
Somehow, Adam Crane has leapfrogged Steele out on track, and it was all done in the pit window. It was 8.9 seconds stationary for Steele. Crane just 7.7 in the box. It added up to almost 2 seconds quicker in the pit lane. Really a remarkable entrance and exit it must have been for the VRS Satellite Racing driver, and now puts Steele in the position of having to do all that work again. But this time, he's got the added complication, Wilson, of lap traffic in front of him.
Yeah, and another thing, maybe we can consider what Adam Crane could have done in his pit stop. Maybe he did short fuel. So if he knows that he will not able to bring it to the end of the race, maybe he tried to add less fuel. I don't think he did that. Probably was just, as I mentioned, he did a great job pitting in and pitting out. So that's very good for him that was able to leapfrog them.
Still now a couple of laps before I'd expect Van der Sant down. He is 4 seconds clear of Andrew Wood. It's really the only other car that was able to hustle and bustle a Dallara IR18 through the pack and towards the front of the field. It really has mixed things up with several cars 1 lap down. You've got Lichtenberg, Crane, Steele, Kovacs, Silva and Kraus 1 lap down. Wilhite on back 2 laps down, and really puts drivers like Marco Brazil in a bit of a pickle when you find yourself in the hole at this point when we've only had the 1 caution. Things have strung themselves out, Wilson, but even though we've had lap traffic really playing a major factor, it's been really clean to start things off.
Yeah, and the traffic is playing a really important factor here tonight, because if we consider what Alexander Van der Sant is doing on the track right now, he's in old tires and having to handle with all that traffic. On the other hand, we have Lichtenberg, Crane and Steele with fresh rubber, having to deal with the traffic as well, but probably if they can be more aggressive to lose less time, so maybe then that can cost for a few precious seconds for Van der Sant when he came to the pit. Maybe he can lose the gap and come to the track way behind him.
Wilhite, second fastest lap in a row, powered by ATVO, 17.075. That's Wilhite getting on past your race leader, getting 1 of his laps back. Van der Sant, you can see the drop-off. It is almost a full second. This time around, it is more than a second. I would expect him to come down in the next couple of laps because he's losing a ton of time to the rest of the field. Wood is down, Gerhard is down. It just leaves Van der Sant out there on track.
Yeah, and we can see that even on lapped cars, it's not being easy for Van der Sant because he's in old tires, and those lapped cars, hey, they have fresh rubber, so yeah, not easy for Van der Sant to keep overtaking those cars. So let's see how that will work for him late on the race.
Woodith comes out behind Andrew Marquez, and he'll be looking in his rearview mirrors next for Marco Brazil, but it's about 4.4 seconds between the 11th and 12th positions. It's opened up slightly between some cars. I see Christian Steele is 2 seconds behind. It's 3 wide action. Isaac Morris, or is that, who is that? Sorry, that's the 10 of Marcel Kovacs that was up into the wall. He's trying to get himself down onto pit road, but a shame for him, Wilson. He's missed the entry.
Yeah, he lost a very important, precious time here. Have his strategy very in a bad shape, unfortunately for him, you know.
So Van der Sant is down on pit road. I tell you what, let's go see what happened exactly to Kovacs there. I'm not sure if he was in the wall before. There were 2 teammates trying to get on past, and I think slightly spooked and damaged, and Glenix has to try and squeeze his way through, as I think Christian Steele was there as well. We'll jump back and jump on board with the Steely rocket machine and see here exactly what happened. I think maybe I got things mixed up, because here you can see when Glenix has already gone through the scene of the incident, so we will jump back to the live pictures and pick up some of the action and see what the gaps are like, because it has closed out front. It's now 2 seconds between Crane and Lichtenberg.
Yeah, good job by Crane bringing that gap down, so Steele is doing a great job behind him as well. So a lot of actions to see here, Juna, and hopefully we can have another pit box entry for tonight, so we can see more action and maybe some changes in the positions in the front of the field.
And so in terms of the strategy, as Hollabo gets on, that's side by side with Isaac Morris. You can see left side of the screen as they swap around positions. They're having a very fun battle. It's worked out quite nicely for Alexander Van der Sant. He finds himself about 11 seconds behind the race leader, but last time around, he was 0.8 quicker than the cars out front. Fastest lap goes to Alexander Van der Sant. It's a 17.049, Wilson.
And it will be very interesting to see right here, right now, for how many laps Alexander Van der Sant will be able to keep pushing hard and doing those good lap times, so he can bring the gap down to the leadership. So a very interesting moment of the race in terms of driving aggression and also race strategy.
And well, he's kind of doing what he did do last week to take that first Lionheart career victory. go as long as you can and hope it turns into a fuel mileage race. And at this point in time, Wilson, he's 6 laps into his run. He is well and truly within the window to get to the end of this race, regardless of the caution strategy.
Yeah, that's another important factor for him, because no fuel safe for him right now, just full send and pedal to the metal. So not to mention that he can combine the driver aggression and also a good strategy for him at this point of the race.
Bit naughty from Phil Kraus there, feeding the dirty air to Van der Sant, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. Kraus is 30 laps into his run. Van der Sant drives past him like he's not even there. Now up into 4th, he is looking very, very comfortable, but if the caution comes out, Wilson, it is going to put Van der Sant in the position of having to come down pit road, because everyone else will have to come down on pit road. They'll have fresh rubber. He'll be a sitting duck in the closing stages of the race.
Yeah, and then we can see, let's see if we can have, if we have a yellow maybe in the next 5 or 6 laps. Will he bring his car to the pit entry or to the pit box, or will he try to keep on track and not to be a sitting duck but to fight hard for that first spot? I don't think so. It will be very, very hard. So if we have a caution, that things will not be the way Alexander Van der Sant would like right now. But you never know. Race is race, and all can happen in one lap to another.
There you can see your race leader across the line to tick off lap 99. Works his way in towards the closing stages of this race. 3.5 seconds clear of Adam Crane, your championship leader, with Christian Steele now only 1 second behind and trying to close that gap. You can see Van der Sant has already closed the gap to the race leader to about 7.5 seconds. He is really on a charge. Still a long way to go. 50 laps also to go here, and, well, for Brendan Lichtenberg, the question I really have, you don't get the indication when you jump on board here, Wilson, in terms of what the driver is doing, but this is the crucial portion of the screen. That is what your car settings are in. Be very curious if Brendan Lichtenberg has bumped that car down into fuel maps that will save him some more fuel.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't see that when the only driver who can see that is the driver itself. We can't see that from the outside, so we can only try to guess what the driver is doing based on lap times and based on the line he's doing and how he is handling with the traffic on track. So yeah, let's see if he can get to the end of the race or not. I think it will be hard. Maybe he's just waiting for a caution to reset the race strategy itself, but you never know.
I would postulate as to not getting another caution here, because you can see it's only 8 cars left on the leading lap, as it's going to be Andrew Marquez, the next car in danger of going 1 lap down. Then you see the rest of the cars. They're a bit more strung out in terms of their track position, Wilson, and, well, I think it would be very bold to assume you're going to have a caution fly.
Yeah, I don't think either, Arjuna, but especially because the drivers, we don't have actually some 2 or 3 points of battles in the race right now, so they are just trying to do to hit their marks and do their lines and bring the car, they drive the car the best way they can. So that's always a good factor to avoid a caution on the track. So it's probably unlikely, but let's see.
We will have to see, because we are getting down now to 40 laps to go. They really fly on past. My timing screen is saying 13 minutes left in this race, and, well, when you go short track racing on the iRacing service, you kind of expect it will be a caution-filled race. Great to see that we are really flying by in today's action. On board with Christian Steele and the purple car in action today. No Joshua Chin, no Tim Doyle, and none of the other purple machines in competition, so therefore we can say this is the best purple-looking car in today's grid. But you can see some lap traffic between Steele and Crane. Steele has done a good job to close on the back of the VRS Satellite Racing driver. 12 to 14 degrees of banking, depending if you're up high or down low, as who's that into the wall? I think that was, I'm not sure exactly, but that's the danger. We're talking about cautions. You never know how things are going to go. 12 to 14 degrees of banking, Wilson, and you were saying the low line is where you want to be to save some fuel, but to save your tires, you want to be a little bit higher.
Yeah, if you want to save tires and fuel, definitely you want to go lower, because you use less throttle and also you do a shorter line. but sometimes it can be tricky, especially if you hit those track difference between one sim and another. So sometimes the car can get loose out of the blue. Yeah, so it's not the easiest line to do, but you can do that definitely. And very interesting to see, especially Matt Hollenbaugh, Arjuna. We didn't talk much about him, but he's doing a very consistent race. Meanwhile, we see Marco using another lap right here. But Hollenbaugh is the best driver in terms of positions gained in the top 10. And he's very experienced driver, very consistent. I'm pretty sure he's just trying to bring his car home and use this strategy the best way he can.
I see Robin Glennox is down onto pit road once more. I would speculate as to maybe him being that car that was up into the wall. You can see left side of the screen those movers and shakers. It's been a day where cars have gone forward, cars have gone down. Van der Sant qualified in 4th, put himself in the position of coming down onto pit road in the early caution, has managed to cycle his way back forward, now only 6 seconds behind the race leader and closing the gaps to 2nd and 3rd positions. On board with Hollenbaugh, we're just taking a look now at how controlled you have to be in your steering here. You can't afford to throw the car around, Wilson. You really need to manage this car, such high speed, such little downforce here around this very short oval.
Yeah, it's very challenging to drive because you must combine your driving skill with your steering wheel inputs, but also at the same time you have to play with the throttle to get that nice rotation going in the corner, and especially out of the corner without having rear wheel spin. So very challenging and funny track to drive. And very good to see what Hollenbaugh is doing, and such a good race for him.
On board with Van der Sant, who is 1.4 seconds behind Steele, has some lap traffic to deal with, but he is about 2/10 quicker than the cars in front. Across the line, it's an 18.056, so slightly slower for the Indiana native as he worked to the inside of Marco Brazil and gets one more lapped car down in his quest and his charge up through the field. Coming into the closing stages, really, I do wonder if we're not necessarily seeing the lap time slowing down from the cars out front. But they really must have conceded to an additional pit stop here, Wilson. And for Lichtenberg, Crane, and Steele, the just question on my mind is when will they come down?
Yeah, probably they'll try to stretch as much as they can, because if their yellow flag came out, then they will be in a good shape. But meanwhile, for Alexander Verdessen, he's doing a great job. If I'm not wrong, he came down after his pit stop at 30 seconds behind, and he's right now 5.8, so very good job for him.
Matt Hollenbaugh does blink then. Lap 118 for him, an indication that the rest of the field will not be too far behind. Marco Brazil is down on the lane as well for one final stop. Matt Hollenbaugh's team name, by the way, just about short enough to fit into our graphics without any sort of adjustment. The All-American iRacers driver drops himself off the jacks then. 8.2 seconds stationary. Most of that time will be all for the tires because, of course, at this point, a half a tank of fuel will get you to the end of this race. It's closed up once more for the race lead. Adam Crane last time was a 17.7. Brendan Lichtenberg an 18.1. It's less than 2 seconds for the race lead again now, Wilson.
Yeah, and this kind of strategy that we see Hollenbaugh doing, Arjuna, is always a very challenging call to do, because if you split your strategy into the half tank, you get the best out of your tire, because you just split the stint in the half, exactly the half, so you don't stretch the tire that much. However, if you, in the other hand, if you have a caution or something like that, you can be in a really bad shape in the race. So that's the challenge of this race, and that's why short oval races sometimes can be very interesting to watch and to see those different strategies working or not working during the race.
Adam Crane blinks. He's down, followed in by Phil Krause in the 1. So here we go. Final stops, and we were talking not just execution and getting yourself down onto the lane, but into your box as well. Don't slide yourself through. Crane, a bit slow on entry, I think, trying to avoid sliding into the far reaches of the box. Sometimes does affect the pit stop time that you have. 7.6 seconds stationary. It's another quick stop for the VRS Satellite Racing driver. Christian Steele is the next car to come down. We saw these two swap around the last time, Wilson. Can Steele have a quick pit stop this time around?
Yeah, very interesting to see right now, Arjuna, because in the last pit, maybe Crane added less fuel. Meanwhile, if Chris still added his full fuel, he will have a shorter stop right now. So very important moment of the race to see if Steele can
He slid through his box. I was talking about needing to execute. That's going to add several seconds to the Steely rocket machine. He dropped himself off, but Adam Crane is already working his way down into turn one. He will get on past Steele and make things very difficult now for Steele to try and fight back to second position. Rejoins onto track. There is Van der Sant, who of course is now only 4.7 seconds behind your race leader. I really do wonder if Brendan Lichtenberg is trying to extend. 18.3 the last time around was the race leader, who is now getting swarmed by Andrew Wood.
Yeah, very scary that for Brendan. He managed to survive, and let's see. I don't think he can bring to the end of the race, but either way, he's trying to do his best to keep on the track and maybe waiting for a caution.
Look at these lap times, Wilson, though. I mean, starting on... Nope, he's coming down this time around. Never mind as Phil Kraus breaks into the 16-second bracket, a 16.994, fastest lap powered by ATVO. Down onto the lane with 20 to go. Guess who scoops himself the race lead? It is Alexander Van der Sant. 43 laps into his stint. He'll be comfortable to the end of this race.
Yeah, pretty comfortable for him. If he manages to bring by the end of the race, it will be a very good win for Van der Sant. Very good strategy, not to mention that, and important to see how important to mention how he was able to manage the traffic and keep doing good lap times while he was with no tires when he stretched that stint. So that could be the key for Alexander Van der Sant winning this race.
Adam Crane has gotten past Brendan Lichtenberg. What has happened for Team i5G? Because, well, Steele is now finding himself 4 seconds behind Adam Crane, the championship leader. There's Lichtenberg, and if you look realwards, there is Christian Steele. They have Laura Gerhardt in between them and the VRS Satellite Racing driver. 18 laps to go. Be interesting to see just how quickly the i5G duo can work their way forward and try and challenge for a top 5 finish here. You'll see, Wilson, by the way, as a result of this strategy, there are just 3 cars left on the leading lap.
Yeah, very important strategy for them. Not sure if Chris Wilhite will be able to bring by the end of the race. He already has 58 laps on his few runs, so but I'm pretty sure that Andrew and Van der Sant will be able to do that, but let's keep an eye on them.
There is a very real possibility, as someone points out in our YouTube chat, that Alexander Van der Sant will win by an entire lap, because Andrew Wood is a little bit slower at this point in time. Gap now extended up to 15 seconds as Isaac Morris, the latest car to work his way down into the box for the final time in today's action. We started with 20 cars. We've still got 18 out there and circulating. Tim Tomes, after that early incident that ended up resulting in the first caution flag of the day, has worked his way back out onto track, 17 laps down. That is what you need to think about when it comes to persistence. Not necessarily in a short 150-lap race like this, Wilson, but when it comes to something like an Indy 500 or any sort of major championship race, that is the type of persistence you want to see.
Yeah, it's very good to see the kind of persistence working, and also the strategy and the different drivers trying different things during the race. So yeah, if we have the race ending by the way we have right now, I'm pretty sure that the people watching will have fun with that, and because always interesting to see the drivers working hard to get by the end of the race with the best result they can.
So with 12 to go, you can see once more your movers and shakers. Newsom is down 18 positions. Of course, the biggest loser, pole position, had started to run away at the front of the field. An unfortunate incident with AJ Musselman. Those two look to be our only retirements. Marco Bazil has had a bit of a difficult day. A couple of brushes with the wall. Finds himself 10 positions down in 15th, but has at least been able to hold on to his car, repair whatever damage he had, and complete today's action. Big movers, they include Laura Gerhardt up 9, Matt Hollowbo up 7, Andrew Marquez to the edge of the top 10 with 5 gain. Andrew Wood, though, has worked this strategy to wonders. He's 12 positions gained. He'll be thrilled with the podium after where he qualified, Wilson.
Yeah, he didn't manage to do his best qualifying. I know how good Andrew can do in qualifying sometimes, so even so, he managed to do a great job in the race, save as much fuel as he can, did a very good smart strategy, pitting on the first caution. First and unique caution, not to mention that there, Arjuna. And yeah, the race is working very good for him. And if he managed to get that P2, I'm pretty sure he'll be very happy with the result and the championship points.
This is such a fun track, and maybe we'll be able to return here in future events for IndyCar competition. Usually runs in July, but of course we got a bit of an off month now in the NTT IndyCar series. It was a wonderful holiday weekend where Mid-Ohio really did deliver some entertainment. Team Penske finally able to break their struggles this season, and Joseph Newgarden getting a win that has eluded him so far. 3 consecutive races where he led the most laps in the race. He finally took victory from Mid-Ohio. Brendan Lichtenberg, by the way, has gotten past Adam Crane, so it will be 4th for the Team i5G driver. But after how things played out, you do have to wonder, Wilson, why. Maybe we'll get to talk to them in the post-race portion of this race, but I can understand why they stayed out there. But at the same time, on that first caution, you knew it would be a one-stop race from there. Maybe it would have been worth the chance to come down in and try something like Alexander Van der Sant did.
Yeah, Arjuna, when you're the track, you always have to take some risks sometimes and go for different strategy and do different calls. So unfortunately for i5G guys, that didn't work very well for them tonight. If we had a caution, everything could have been different for them because they seem to have a very strong car. But it's the kind of race. That's why racing is so passionate, because sometimes you can do something and didn't work in the end of the day, and sometimes you do the other thing around it that will work. So yeah, that's the fun of the challenge.
2 laps to go, just under 2 miles here in the cornfields of Iowa. It's been another race where Alexander Van der Sant has worked the strategy game to perfection. White flag in the air. Last week, 7 days ago, he took a dramatic win from the Kentucky Speedway, spluttering across the line to win his first ever Lionheart career victory. Here, though, in the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship, victory on a Monday night for Van der Sant. He'll be delighted after once more playing the strategy to perfection. Andrew Wood does finish on the leading lap, the only other driver to be able to do so on that alternate strategy. Chris Wilhite able to save the fuel that he needed to get to the checkered flag, but he has spluttered to a stop. He finishes in 3rd, rounds out our podium positions before we get to the hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg, who controlled a vast majority of this race. Van der Sant will now do some well-earned donuts, and the scary thing is, Wilson, he's still got plenty of fuel to do so.
Yeah, pretty sure he has, because he just had 62 laps on his fuel, and we were able to see Wilhite doing 73, which kind of brings the possibility to be a one-stopper. But yeah, I think as a driver, you never know which strategy will be the winner. So unfortunately for i5G guys, didn't work tonight, and fortunately for Van der Sant, that worked for him, and also for Chris Wilhite and Andrew Wood, who was this guy who pitted on the first stop and the first caution we had, and so that worked pretty well for them. And congratulations for everyone who did the race, and especially for those on the podium in tonight's race, Arjuna.
Here are your race results after 150 laps around the fastest short track in the world. It's Van der Sant, Indiana's own, who takes victory, 15 seconds clear of team talent Andrew Wood. Chris Wilhite, wonderful fuel saving. He rounds out the podium before we get to Brendan Lichtenberg, Adam Crane, Christian Steele. They were looking strong. They'll be wondering if the fuel strategy might have played out slightly differently if a couple more cautions had flown. Phil Krause, 7th, the final car 1 lap down, with Laura Gerhard, Matt Holloway, and Andrew Marquez. Edge of the top 10, they finished themselves 2 laps down. Isaac Morris, another car 2 laps down, with Connor Harrington struggling after not coming down onto pit road. He finishes the first of the cars 3 laps down, with John Silva, Marco Brazil, Marcel Kovacs through 15th position. Aaron Roofs, Robin Glennox, Tim Tomes, Alexis Newsom, and AJ Musselman will round out our 20-car field. Only 2 cars did not make it to the checkered flag. Fastest lap set by Phil Krause, a 16.975 on lap 128. Wilson, it really was the story of making sure you used your fresh tires when they were at their peak operating window.
Yeah, indeed it was, Arjuna. Very, very good to see the strategy working according to as the racing was unfolding. So it's very good to have that race reading in place when you in the right time, in the right moment in the race. So that worked pretty well for Vandersam. It was, I'm sorry for Alexis Newsom. I was really looking forward to see what he could do tonight. Probably she did a lot of practice and was a very strong contender for tonight's race as well for tonight. So fortunately had a small incident early in the race. But yeah, I think it was a very good race, Arjuna, as we always expect to see here at Iowa. And always a pleasure to see those drivers putting the show and bringing that emotion for us here in the cabin booth, but also for everybody else watching at RaceSpotTV.
It's always fun on a Monday night with our championship race, the first race of a new week and the first race in a season where I think field strategy really has blown itself wide open. Alexander Van der Sat now joins us in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth. Alex, a second consecutive Monday where field strategy has worked itself out in your favor. I must ask you, who's your spotter, or is it all your own doing, working yourself to these race victories?
Well, big thanks to the whiteboard that I have next to me with fuel numbers written on it. Yeah, I mean, with fuel save, it's all just math and keeping track of how much fuel you have left and how much you'll need to get to whatever target. You just got to set a goal and then work to reach that.
Tell me, Alex, I mean, after your victory last week, I can only imagine how excited you were, your first Lionheart career victory. Here, though, it's a slightly different sort of a field, slightly different sort of a race. Short track racing, open setups. What was it like knowing during that first caution that you would likely be the one car that everyone had to watch for?
Yeah, the caution came out like right when I wanted it. It was right on the edge of what I thought you could make, and I actually made much better mileage working through traffic. But yeah, so I knew I could just split it from there. It was not an easy number to hit, but I would be able to hit it. And yeah, I was just surprised nobody else ahead of me came in. I know there are a lot of people behind me, but yeah, you just gotta plan ahead, keep track of what numbers you can hit, and then how many laps that'll get you, and just plan ahead.
Just reading some of the chat in our iRacing IndyCar Discord, I have to ask you what it was like on so many cars on different strategies, not when it comes to the fuel, but when it came to the tires. And, sometimes you were the one having to be very cautious as faster cars flew on by. We saw a couple of laps where you set consecutive fastest laps. How difficult was it to really watch in your mirrors, make sure that everyone was communicating well? After that one caution, I must say, it was exceptionally clean.
Yeah, it was great. I think I had one issue coming up through the pack initially on the fresher tires. No contact, but it was just I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah. Other than that, everybody just stayed high. Lapped cars, they were most of the time were pretty compliant, and yeah, it was just being courteous. A lot of give and take. It's a short track, so not a lot of room, and really strong field, a lot of talent running in this series, so it's really fun to see.
Congratulations, Alex. Hopefully we'll see you continue your championship charge here on a Monday night, not just in the Lionheart Speedway Series. You're having a very good run in this IndyCar Open Championship. Next time, we'll see you at Hockenheim. Good luck as we head to Germany.
Thanks, fellas.
Alexander Van der Sant's second trip to the RaceSpotTV commentary booth in as many Monday nights. Next up, it's Andrew Wood. 12 positions gained on the day, our biggest mover and shaker. Andrew, you were on the same strategy as Alexander Van der Sant, but a little bit more difficult to fight your way through the field. Initially, it put you at a disadvantage on track position.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head, Arjuna. You stole my interview right out of my mouth. Yeah, the restart for me was very sketchy. I saved the car from a spin 3 or 4 times, and I lost the entire pack up ahead of me, and that allowed Alex to take advantage on fresh tires and get by some cars that had stayed out on the older tires. So once I knew I was stuck, then I just threw it into a fuel mix that was conducive to fuel saving and knew exactly what lap I needed to pit. Actually, I went a lap or 2 past that just to be safe. And yeah, I knew I could make it on one more stop, so I just kind of had to ride, and it's a shame I couldn't get by some of the slower traffic there to give it more of a fight, but I came into this race not expecting any positive results, top 10 or worse sort of thing for me, so I'm very happy.
Next time, I've got to ask you about Hockenheim, because I know you don't necessarily like some of the road courses that we've had on the IndyCar schedule from Germany, but the first time we head to Hockenheim in an IndyCar, it should be a fascinating race. That arena section is oh so tight, especially in an IndyCar. What are you expecting from our first trip to Hockenheim?
It should be pretty fun. You know, my road course prowess in the last couple months has really improved through a lot more practice, a lot more helping build some setups with some teammates and things of that nature. So I'm actually really happy to have my progress going forward. I'm probably not going to challenge for a top 5 or anything like that, but like, you know, finishing with some guys I normally wouldn't race with would be a positive. And Hockenheim actually is pretty fun. I did it in a league race about a month and a half or so ago, so it should be pretty fun.
What's up? What next is on the agenda for you, Andrew? Because of course we see you here on a Monday night, but Indy Elite competition continues, and next time we'll be heading to Gateway. But it's a bit of a time off, just like the NTT IndyCar Series. Got the month of July off to yourselves. How excited are you about going short track racing once more on August 1st?
It should be pretty fun. I'm looking forward to that a lot. Yeah, it's summertime, so I'm trying to get out more and enjoy life as best I can. You know, iRacing is fun and all, but you know, when we have a nice break like this, it's good to take advantage. But I've been doing some practicing on my own, like I said before, doing some setup tweaking and playing around some stuff to improve my skills a bit. So when we get back into a season where we're doing a lot more racing, I'll probably be a little more competitive. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy the break while I can.
Well, congratulations on second. Feels like we talked to you a decent amount here on the RaceSpotTV booth. Talking to you in the Classic IndyCar Series, if I recall. Short track racing again. Congratulations on second. Hopefully we'll see you in 7 days' time from Hockenheim.
Yeah, I'll see you guys then.
So that wraps up our interviews here on a Monday night. And Wilson, let's take a look at this schedule, because I must say, well, the run to the championship finale at the Tricky Triangle in Pocono is such an interesting one. Hockenheim, Charlotte, Phillip Island. It takes us crisscrossing the globe before we land back up in the United States for 5 rounds to decide this championship. And it's very crucial that Adam Crane did not get the maximum points that he would have hoped to get, I should say, when Adam Blocker was missing in action.
Yeah, that unfortunately didn't work very well tonight for Crane. I'm pretty sure he's not happy with his final results in terms of championship points. However, the championship is still a way to go, very long way to go, so he can probably keep doing his job. And not to mention that seeing his fight with Blocker in the championship is always fun, but I really expect Blocker to be a very strong contender next week. We know how good he is in road tracks, so that will be pretty interesting. If you're thinking championship points, Arjuna, to get the things mix up a little bit, and not to mention that what's coming next, Charlotte and Phillip Island. Really looking forward to see those two tracks in the schedule.
When it comes to Hockenheim, I mean, just this past weekend we had the kickoff of the SCO Sprint Masters and Sprint Challenge Championship. $25,000 in the line. The first time in a couple of years we've had a major GT3 team championship returning to the iRacing service. It produced some fascinating action, not just down into the hairpin where you sometimes expect carnage and chaos, but in through the arena section, too wide. It's a single file portion of track, if you ask me. They somehow managed to make it work. Have you had the opportunity to drive there, Wilson? Because I think it's going to be interesting in IndyCar, controlling and balancing what is ultimately a track where you need high speed and, you know, top speed in a straight line, but also control in the low speed corners.
Yeah, the iRacing version of Hockenheim, I didn't have the chance to drive it so far, Arjuna. I'll probably do some testing next week as well. But yeah, I did a lot of races there in the past in other racing simulators, and man, it's such a blast to drive on this track, especially in the arena section. It's always fun to drive, and it's probably those kind of corners where you have to really hit your marks, because if you do a small mistake, like we've seen in the past in the Formula 1 races, you can lose a couple spots right there. So here's not the best place to overtake. We have such the hairpin and other overtaking points, but yeah, the arena section is really the part of the track where you must nail your mark, hit your marks, and do a very perfect job. Otherwise, the race can go against you.
Well, with that, it's time to say goodbye once more on a Monday. Plenty more coverage to come here on RaceSpotTV throughout the next week, so make sure you follow us for all your sim racing action across YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram at RaceSpotTV. Also, I should plug it here as well because there's some interesting prizes. LEGO and VRS teaming up as part of the SCO Sprint Championship to give away 6 LEGO Technic Porsche 911 RSR kits. And each entry gets you into the season-long giveaway of a VRS Direct Force Pro wheelbase. Visit giveaway.sportscaropen to learn more. The first of those has already been handed out. For now, though, it's time to say goodbye. For the entire team at RaceSpotTV, on behalf of our wonderful graphics partners at RaceSpotTV, ATVO, who have been doing so much hard work for us, my name is Arjuna Kankipati. I've been joined by Wilson Nadeau. We'll see you in 7 days' time from Germany for more coverage of this iRacing IndyCar Open Championship live on a Monday night. For now, so long and goodbye. Enjoy the week of racing.